Hello, everybody. Welcome back to coverage of Face to Face Edmonton, Canada's Regional Championship West Edition. I'm trying out different names, okay? I'm trying out the West Flight thing, West Edition. We'll figure it out. But, for those of you who aren't familiar, in Canada, our RC is split over the two coasts since it's such a massive country that it would be very difficult for players to necessarily travel to a single one. And, some players do, of course, go to both. We have seen the people who are really trying to make it onto the Pro Tour, get that qualification, make the effort to travel out. But it's certainly, I think, very a player-focused experience that Face-to-Face have put on, and fantastic for those of us who maybe are finding it a bit more difficult to reach the further away events. So, Alex, round number 11 coming up. We have had 2 rounds already of Pioneer this morning on coverage and 3 more rounds of Swiss to go before the top 8. Has anything struck you about the format as we're getting into the latter rounds of Swiss?
Well, I mean, we had both the Rakdos decks in both rounds lose, so maybe you should play non-Rakdos decks, right? But no, I mean I'm fairly familiar with the Pioneer format, and so far nothing too strange has happened. It seems like it's still pretty diverse, but a lot of different decks look to be at the top of the standings, so that's exciting. I'm excited for more great matches of Magic.
All right. Well, if you are a Rakdos fan, I have good news for you because we have more Rakdos Sacrifice coming up in the hands of David Rood, who is going to be our featured player. Both of our players in round 11 are going to be at 8 and 2, so really vying for those top 8 spots still. Rakdos Sacrifice for David Rood looks like a pretty similar list to the one that we just saw from Edgar, and I think maybe a bit of difference in the sideboard. There are a couple of Meat Hook Massacres.
Yeah, the main deck looks pretty identical, I think, to Edgar's, but we've got those Meat Hook Massacres in the sideboard are David Rood's kind of special sauce that other people were telling about to play. Partly because you can't have them and Gigantha at the same time, but
right.
He's tweeted that he's had a bunch of success with them yesterday. He managed to win some rounds with them, and I'm excited to get to hopefully see them in action this round.
Well, let's have a look at who he's playing against. Maybe with bringing the Meat Hook Massacres, we'll see. It's Travis Benedict on Mono Green Devotion. Now, first time we're seeing Mono Green here today. Has been, should we say, the terror of the Pioneer format for quite some time now. And this Mono Green deck seeing a few changes here and there, Alex, for Lucanos Reborn, Cityscape Leveler from recent sets. But the core of the deck still remains somewhat the same.
Yeah, this deck is, for the people not familiar with Pioneer, is kind of a ramped combo deck, really. It's the deck in the format that utilizes the Llanowar Elves and Elvish Mystic package the best. So you really get to ramp out ahead of your opponents. Then obviously you can curve into Old Growth Troll or Polukranos. Cavalier of Thorns. You notice these things have a lot of green mana symbols in them. Nykthos powers that up, and then with Karn and Kior, there's a nice combo finish that we can discuss later if we get close to that. But it's a cool deck to watch.
Certainly a cool deck to watch. Let's go down to the action. Not sure if it's as cool a deck to play against for many players, but we'll see what happens here. Now, how does this really play out between Sac and Mono Green? Who has the edge?
So I believe Mono Green is supposed to be slightly favored. Though Sacrifice is generally good against creature decks, there are a lot of issues with some of the green draws.
Oh, hello.
You get to see claiming the Firstborn into a nice little sacrifice, tapping the Elf for mana.
I think that's a deadly dispute there
deadly
from
dispute.
David Rood. That's a sweet play with the Llanowar Elves hitting the bin, and Unlucky Witness gets in for one as well. And Travis Benedict just back to 1 land on the battlefield. Let's see what he can find. That was
really
exciting
really cool.
For turn 1. Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's a whole legion of elves.
Yeah, it's all the Llanowar forests are empty because the elves are here, and
Yeah.
David, though, he's got access to potentially up to 4 mana here. Even just playing land Mayhem Devil, sacrifice this treasure, boom, kill an elf. Could play it could be really really explosive, but it looks like it's another deadly dispute.
Yeah, it certainly does. Unlucky Witness is going to be sacrificed, so that trigger happens first, and then the cards get drawn. Can play one of those cards that was found this turn. So one of those lands is going to be able to be put onto the battlefield here for David.
Yeah, and we'll see depending on how much mana he's going to utilize, whether it's going to be the one that comes into play tapped but is more utility, or the Sulphurous Springs. Uh, Looks like he wants the mana now. But yeah, usually the Rakdos Sacrifice deck is often strong against small creatures, uh, because Mayhem Devil can go to work there, as well as things like Claim the Firstborn and Fatal Push. But the green deck does have this ability to go over the top, and Karn can be a real problem because it shuts off all your artifacts from the passive ability.
Oh, that's
So
true.
Gabriel Nassif makes a brief appearance before becoming a goblin shaman. Oh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can wear the hat. No.
yeah. No,
Okay.
no yellow
All
hat on the
right.
token. Okay.
Wow. All
But
right. So
David
yeah, I
Rood, for
mean,
those of you who don't know, has won a team pro tour with Gabriel Nassif back in the day. So they're old teammates and friends. So he wanted to
that's
make sure.
nice. A
Yeah.
nice tribute to a teammate. Meanwhile, by the way, Travis Benedict finds Kiora, so that is one piece of the the engine, shall we say, with Nykthos and being able to untap it. Does of course also that you draw cards when big creatures come in. Speaking of drawing cards, David Rood is getting through his library at a pretty reasonable speed here. Has a Fable trigger now to maybe find some more cards if he thinks that his current hand needs a bit of work.
Yeah, and even just we've seen discarding cats can be kind of nice too, because they end up having value from the graveyard. But this looks like a tough call here for David. Um, Really, finding a Mayhem Devil is the top priority, I think, because also with the Shaman, you get a free treasure every turn, can kill off these
Right.
elves, which keeps Travis's devotion low. Uh, Travis missed a land drop, but Kiora, even on this wolf hollow, can provide a lot of mana for Cavalier or something coming down next turn, which is a
Right.
problem for David to deal with because his removals Fatal Push and Claim the Firstborn, and none of those can deal with a 5 mana 5/6.
So here comes the Goblin Shaman. It's going to go face. Kiora comes in with 7 loyalty, which makes it a pretty unattractive target for the attacks from the creatures here. And that treasure is being made. Let's see whether David has found a Mayhem Devil. 3 mana being tapped. Here it is. A
Yes.
Mayhem Devil hits the battlefield. Ping an elf. And that's Croxa.
Croxa, which is
Oh,
a sacrifice trigger as well.
it
So
is.
yeah, so it looks like that other elf is probably going to go down.
I think
Meanwhile,
there's just
Travis,
one copy of Croxa in the deck for David.
yeah,
Nice to see it here.
and David suddenly down 2 mana, still access to 5 mana 6 with a land drop. Uh, Really, the Kiora can do so much work.
Wow.
And yeah, here's the Cavalier.
Okay, that's gonna have a trigger from the Kiora as well as its own trigger, the mill slash put land onto the battlefield. And we see plenty of lands found there for Travis from that. And I believe um, maybe an old growth troll put in the graveyard as well. And I think there was a Storm the Festival pitched earlier to the Croxa trigger.
Yeah, and those storms have flashbacks. So if Travis manages to find a Nykthos, he can definitely do that. He's got a even just with this small board already 5 devotion, Nykthos activating for 5 can untap, activate for another 5. That's 10 mana. Uh,
So, all right, Alex, I'm sure that there will be much discussion, and as there has been for many moons, but what's your stance on Nykthos? Is it too strong for Pioneer?
I think it's about right. I mean, it's it's really powerful, of course, but it is somewhat vulnerable, and I think really the more problematic cards are the 1 mana elves, but that kind of enable these really fast starts. Uh, I think Nykthos is fine with the current state of things, but
All right.
that's that's
Well,
just my opinion.
no, I mean, we asked you on here. That's why we have you here. Everyone wants to know your hot takes, of course. And Croxo is going to be escaped out of the graveyard here for David Rood. It's a 6/6. So take another card out of Travis's hand, and
This time it's a
unfortunately,
forest, looks like, and
yeah, it is a forest.
so Travis declined to play a land last turn, knowing that this Croxa could come down. Uh, so he's probably protecting this last card in hand. So I expect a doozy next turn. You know,
We'll see what Travis finds. I mean, it could
but
be
yeah,
something like a Khan or a Nykthos, perhaps. We'll see.
yeah, it's almost certainly not Nykthos because that I think he would have played, but
Right.
a Karn could definitely come down, and normally that I think that would be very hard for David to answer, but uh, I believe this Croxa
That
is summoning sick,
Croxa
so uh,
is summoning sick. So we
or,
do apologize because so
yes,
we don't really have any effect on what's going on the
no,
in play right now. So we'll see how this plays out for the players. Could be that both players have missed it, which happens. It's a long tournament. They played 8 rounds yesterday. It's very high stakes. Certainly not unheard of for mistakes to happen. And it looks like the attack step does
does go
get
through.
played out.
Um,
Yeah.
well, anyways, from this point, looks like Travis is going for
Oh,
a
it's Storm.
storm that from return from this Cavalier. Let's see if he can find anything. It's David's got a lot of pressure on the other side of the field. Remember the reflection's going to go off, be unsummoning sick next turn,
Right.
and
Right. With the Mayhem Devil as well and that Goblin Shaman. So, as you say, quite a lot of pressure. Meanwhile, Travis storms the festival, finds Pelucrinus Reborn and another copy of Khan. So that's two pretty big hits here off the storm. And Pelucrinus is, of course, going to trigger Cura as well. Finds another card. Now, what can Travis get from the Wishboard for Khan?
so if he's drawn a land, he could find Pithing Needle to be able to shut down potentially the reflection. Um,
Hmm. Okay.
Otherwise, a card just to pitch to the Croxa is not the worst. Dark Steel Citadel also an option to be able to play play a land here. Haywire might also a 1 drop that can potentially block and gain some life. So it really depends based off of how he's thinking about it. Ooh, he's found
Sky Sovereign.
yeah. So that to me makes me think that Travis didn't draw a land off his Kiora draw, but it's just kind of setting up for next turn maybe to be able to kill the Mayhem Devil or potentially the Reflection. But the way it's looking, might not get another turn.
Yeah. Now those treasure tokens, are they locked onto Khan? Or
Yes, yeah, they're currently locked under Karn. We actually saw a moment when the storm resolved that David is wondering whether he could respond to the Karn coming in, but he can't after the storm is already resolved. Then the
mm,
Karn immediately shuts it down, and so still there's the activation on to Mayhem Devil, the attack. There's only one blocker for Travis. So let's say he blocks the Croxa, that would still be 8 damage of attackers getting in, and then 2 sacrifice triggers.
Right.
That would bring him down to 1 life, assuming that he has a spell to discard.
Okay, so here's the big attack. Proxy trigger's gonna go on the stack. That Cura's getting discarded to that, so no damage taken from the trigger itself. This is a massive army coming in, so even if the Croxa is blocked, that's going to be 5, 8.
Yeah, even if blocking the
-ish.
Croxa is, Travis is going to go to 1 life here. Something David could have done is he could have attacked the Karn with 1 Mayhem Devil token. That way, Travis would still have to block the Croxa or die. But if the Karn died, then these treasures would be unlocked and able to be sacrificed for even more
Right.
damage.
So there is gonna be a sacrifice of the Mayhem Devil copy in the end step. So that will be 2 triggers. And
Yeah.
then David desperately trying to figure out a way to get that last point of damage through. Does not want to let Travis untap or get to
However,
see more cards.
yeah, it's still hard even from this spot as the mono green deck to be able to combo off, and you really need more devotion and Nykthos. And since Travis has neither of those things, uh, it's going to be next to impossible really to pull off, but still potentially possible. But yeah, David trying to figure out if there's anything he can do. Should he apply more pressure? And
Blood Tithe Harvester makes a blood, but that also cannot be sacrificed. Okay, and here's another Fable. So just going to fill up the board with a bunch of small creatures. Travis at 3. Just really saying, okay, I can't do it this turn, but you're at 1, and what can you really do?
yeah, I think David considering shooting Karn maybe down to 1. That way Travis doesn't get to minus it again.
Right.
And yeah, that looks like what he does, because he's got enough pressure on the board that Travis being at 1 or at 3, he's got to answer things. So
All right. So Travis, I mean, hasn't skipped it up yet. Here's Old Growth Troll.
all right.
Another draw is
All right,
yeah,
and then he
that's
packs
gonna
it in.
do it.
And yeah, we get to see the sideboarding now for these players. The mono green deck, as one might expect with a Karn Wish board, doesn't have that many sideboarding options.
Do they actually bring anything in and out?
They usually do, yes. They still board in some of their cards. Some cards are better in the main deck than others. With adjustments. In some matchups, for example, Karn it doesn't get to activate that often. In this matchup, I think if you're the mono green player, you really should be trying to just protect your Karn, because a lot of their sacrifice stuff doesn't work if you have a Karn in play, and then you can just build up your board.
Okay, let's have a look at the deck list for Rakdos Sacrifice, since they actually have a few more cards that they could maybe bring in and out. Do you like anything in particular here?
Yeah, Furnace Reigns is a big one I really like. It kind of is the answer to Cavalier, which otherwise can dodge your cards. And mono green has a lot of these kind of big beat sticks that if you can steal them and then sacrifice them to an oven, that's really good. And Furnace Reigns gives you a treasure as well out of the deal. It's kind of one of the new cards the Sacrifice deck has gained, and Threaten was always fine, but getting an extra treasure, you can really leverage that to a lot of damage. I'm expecting to see that, possibly Colligan's Command as well. The mono green deck has some number of artifacts, and even just discarding cards and shocking an elf can be pretty nice, because the mono green deck really uses all of its resources to do what it does.
All right, fantastic. So David Rood on Rakdos Sacrifice up against Travis, Benedict on Mono Green Devotion. We're going to go into game number 2 now and see how these players are doing. They were both 8-2 coming into this round. We're in round number 11, 13 rounds of Swiss to play today. And it's going to be Thoughtseize as the lead off here for David. We're going to have a look at the hand. It's 3 lands. Kiora, Khan, and Cavalier of Thorns for Travis. Oh, no, sorry, 2 lands. Wolf of the Haven.
Yes.
And the Planeswalkers and Cavalier.
Yeah, usually when Mono Green doesn't have an elf on 1, they've got a Haven on 2. And this looks like no exception. David, has to decide whether to take the accelerant or, Kiora is also basically an accelerant, but it's a slower one, and then or one of the bigger heavy hitters. I think usually it's pretty effective to cut down on Mono Green's like early game accelerants and then leave them stranded with a bunch of big clunky expensive cards. But you often want to decide whether if they have enough redundancy in their early mana things, you want to take their one big thing. Here kind of looks like Travis has a mix of both, with 4 cards in this hand that can be mana sources, and then 2 cards that can be payoffs.
Wow, it's going to be the Cavalier to hit the graveyard. So just taking away the biggest threat, the most devotion for now. And we're going to see Travis with that Wolf of the Haven ramp spells online, potentially enabling that Khan to come down as early as next turn. Oh, and duress the follow-up.
So a nice sideboard duress. That also explains why David went for taking the creature. So David's going for the payoffs. Goodbye Karn, goodbye Cavalier. And you can have all the mana you want, says David, just nothing to do with it.
Yeah, hoping certainly to fade some of these bigger draws for Travis. It's going to be Kiora. Let's see whether he's found anything. We'll be able to tell if she activates immediately, and she does.
Yes.
Old Growth Troll. Pretty nice find there for Travis.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, getting to double spell on turn 3 through 2 discard spells is got to be a nice feeling for Travis here. David probably not happy that the troll was Travis's pickup here, and now he's way behind on the back foot, and that's not really where you want to be as a sacrifice deck in this matchup. You want to try and be ahead and maintain your advantage by picking off their mana dorks. Which
right, you were talking. No, you were talking earlier about how great this sacrifice deck is against the small creatures, the Mayhem Devil paying down all those elves, but Old Growth Troll and now Pelucranos, these creatures are way too big for, any reasonable number of pings to take down. And the removal that's available to David as well potentially could be in some trouble, especially since Old Growth Troll, really quite a strong card against spot removal, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. However, David can potentially steal it with Claim the Firstborn, and that's a much more effective way to deal with it than, let's say, Fatal Push, which makes it even better maybe for Travis than that is the creature side. And it's definitely
steal
scary.
it, do you get the? Oh, but you can't enchant a forest.
Yeah, you don't have a forest.
That's sad.
Some people were playing Jund Sacrifice at one point earlier on in Pioneer. there you could get the full value, but
yeah, maybe you should just play a cheeky Zeator's Proving Ground just so you can put that Old Growth Troll on.
A couple stomping grounds, yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So, all right, well, the goblin is going to be coming in at least to make it a treasure.
And we'll see is Travis going to block, or
does not block,
or at least not visually. It looks like Deadly Dispute's happening. Okay, it's possible that David hasn't let him block. We're not sure where we are in phases here, but
okay. Well, we do know that Deadly Dispute is being sacrificing the treasure.
Yeah, there could be a Fatal Push here before blocks.
That would make sense. Here we go. Okay.
Nice play from David.
Taken down, by that Fatal Push. Goblin Shaman gets to get in unopposed.
And David gets to add a treasure to his board as well, so more mana for a future turn. But looks
Or
like
for this turn, maybe.
Thoughtseize finds a forest.
That's it. Just a forest.
So,
Thoughtseize says, I'll shock myself at sorcery speed.
and I'll sacrifice my treasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Another one off the top. Cavalier of Thorns. What
Wow.
a hit. Travis's deck certainly treating him very well indeed. Although these lands, I think that's a Nykthos there.
And a
that
lair.
was
Yeah.
found.
You could just see David shaking his head. Says, this is what he paid 2 life so that this wouldn't happen.
I mean, that's just the way it is sometimes. And
Yeah, you can't Thoughtseize the top of the deck.
Can't Thoughtseize the top of the deck, and you put these cards in your deck to draw them, right? Like
Absolutely.
That's how it works. And
well, that's the danger when you leave Mono Green with the mana and take the Haymakers. They have a lot of Haymakers, Haiyue.
Yeah, that's just the whole deck.
And Travis elected to take Nykthos off of the Cavalier because he'd drawn this layer of the Hydra, so he gets both. And the Nykthos can power up a pretty big layer of the Hydra here, with 9 devotion, if I'm counting right at the moment.
So the 1 from Kira, 3 from Cavalier, that's 4, 7, 8, 9 from the Wolfeather Haven. So yeah, Nykthos making a ton of mana.
Yeah, so currently using the Elf and Kiora, the Nykthos can produce 9 in the first go around, be untapped to produce 7, gain 7 more up to 16, 17, 18, 19. You can make let's say a very, very lethal layer of the Hydra since David's at 8 life.
Yeah, that Goblin Shaman probably on blocking duty for a little while. Let's see what he has though to be able to develop out something. Is that another Thoughtseize? Oh, it's a Duress. Oh my goodness. So David kind of discard flooded, but not really able to do anything about the top of the library. Here's a cat. That's going to be able to chump block, at least for a turn. But is there an oven or is there something to go along with the cat that can start the engines here for David?
Seems like no. David looks like he's out of cards here, and not a good spot. Travis kind of has it all, and David has nothing really.
Yeah. As well, start with Oath of Nissa. Finds a forest.
Just finds forests. So we know right now Travis's hand is just 2 forests. Well, now he plays 1, and looks like there's probably a big layer is gonna rumble here. Probably not 1919 or 2020, which you can make it now, but big enough to force David into chump blocking.
Okay, we have a nice little mana counter now at the top of your screen there on that basic forest. So that is 10 green mana.
Yeah, because we're up to 10 devotion now. So
right, thanks to the Oath of Nissa.
And this is going to become a 9/9, aka David's life total, and then we're going to see probably all 3 creatures, big creatures, rumble in.
Yeah, looks like that is going to be the attack. So it's 4 from the Old Growth Troll with Trample, 5 from Cavalier of Thorns, and 9, we think, from the Lair.
Yeah, so David probably is going to block the reflection on the elf, and then chump block the 2 other big creatures and take 4 trample. And then Travis can untap one of his creatures, probably the Cavalier, to have it available for blocking, assuming that he doesn't mind the loss of 1 loyalty from the Kiora, because it's not really a spot where he necessarily needs to block, but
okay, he's actually gonna untap the Nykthos, but does he have he can sack the Haven. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that's going to be a wolf made. And
I think David we're very close to going to another game, but we'll see.
Yeah, David, empty-handed, living off the top, looking, staring down this board. There's at least two lethal attackers in the form of the Cavalier plus the Lair, and then the Trample and other creatures as well. Blood type Harvester. Okay, I mean, that is going to enable a second Blood type Harvester to be made, but you
But
can't sacrifice those at instant speed.
no, and really, as soon as this layer gets fired up and all four creatures get into combat, David has access, can make a copy of the Blood Tithe Harvester, but that gives two blockers for the both for the Cavalier and for the layer, and then he's taking 6 damage. So
Right. Like
really,
whichever way you cut it, it does not really seem like David would have any outs. There is a blood token, but he does not have a card to discard to the blood, so can't get through the deck any further. May as well make your opponent play it out though, and here we see it, Travis just counting up, making sure that he has uh, all of the maths right. Gotta make sure that you don't make any mistakes at this stage. Just gonna close out this game. Look forward to the third one, the decider here. And Alex, it's a nice treat actually for us here in the feature match area that we've been getting to see all of these deciding games
yeah,
between these excellent players.
no, it's been great, and yeah, like you say, you don't want to screw things up in these spots. A lot of players, when they're way ahead like this, they tend to get sloppier, and it's good to just take a second, give yourself a breather to make sure that yes, you do have it, you're not missing anything, and yeah, on to a third game.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, David Rood and Travis Benedict, one game apiece here in round number 11. Let's have a look at the sideboards once again. We saw those duresses come in for David, and maybe that game, I think, suffering from a little bit of a kind of discard flood there. Too many discard effects that weren't very powerful once Mono Green had managed to play out all of the threats.
Yeah, I do think the duresses generally are good. Mono green does have, especially has a lot of non-creature spells. The planeswalkers, the storm, the havens as well. If you can nab them on turn one or on turn two now for this game, since David's going to be on the play. Uh, I think so. I think they're worth bringing in, but yes, you can definitely be flooded with them too much because as they say, you can't Thoughtseize the top of their deck, Haiyue, and we definitely saw that in that last game
Yeah.
where Mono Green's got a lot of these heavy hitters. It's you can't they're going to draw some. They're in their deck. So
It really has that feeling of playing against Tron, in Modern when they get their Tron pieces, you thought seize them, take the Khan, whatever, and then another one comes off the top. Back over to Mono Green. I mean, we can talk about this briefly, but Khan board in effect, not very much coming in and out necessary. Let's go down to the action and find out who's going to be taking it home and advancing to 9-2. 9-2, of course, puts them in a great spot with 2 rounds of Swiss remaining. We're looking at maybe something like 10-3 to be our lock. Thoughtseize on 1 for David. Let's have a look at the hand together. Oath of Nissa, Wolf of the Haven, and Pelucranos Reborn.
it looks like this is a 5-card hand from Travis. So this Thoughtseize can be pretty brutal potentially. Really, of course, when your opponent mulligans, exchanging resources even better. But in general, exchanging resources against the mono green deck is really good because they get better and better with more resources, with more devotion. They can get more mana to cast more things, etc. The Rakdos Sacrifice deck also generally wants a bunch of pieces going on, but it has cards that can kind of do more just in one piece, like Fable, for example.
So last game we saw David take out the threats, the top end. Let's see what he decides this time. Do you think he'll have changed his course a little bit based on the results of the last game, or do you think it's going to be stick with the program?
Well, it seems like he's sort of sticking with the program. Pelucranos seems like a card he's not really scared of here, which makes sense. You can fatal push it fairly easily, and he's still allowing Travis to keep his mana with the Haven, taking the Oath of Nissa because that can be really whatever Travis needs it to be, right? Whether he's missing some more mana, he can use it to find some, or a big threat. And
Two
David knows
ovens.
No third land, no cat. That's not where you want to be.
No, I mean, is able to get a couple of engine pieces out, right, with these two ovens, but as you say, we really would like to be developing out a little bit more. We're not sure how many cards David has in hand. It's possible this was another mulligan situation as well. Here is Pelucranos, and that's going to be dominating the battlefield for a while. And Travis, meanwhile, has found a Nykthos. So the mana taps are certainly on. And for David, it's the opposite story here. Really needs to find a third land, does do so.
Right, and we'll see whether he decides to play a 3-drop here, or possibly, let's say, a claim the firstborn, or something like along those lines. Looks like maybe a Fable's coming down. Oh,
Oh
Furnace Rain.
no, it's Furnace Rains. Okay, Furnace Rains
Ooh.
on the Pelucranos. That's coming in for 4. And that's making a treasure. And of course, it can be sacrificed to one of these ovens as well. Big
And I think it
swing.
will be, yes.
Yeah, and that
Ooh,
takes away
making
3
2
devotion.
food.
Yeah, making 2 food because it is powerful or greater. So Furnace Rains out the sideboard for David. We're doing a lot of work. And Nykthos,
Ooh,
not so great when there's no Polycape, but is enabling Khan to come down. What are you getting from the sideboard?
I don't know. It depends on what else you've drawn, but I would imagine some kind of heavy hitter card. Maybe Sky Sovereign again. You don't, you David doesn't have any pressure right now. All these artifacts are now shut off from Karn's passive. And okay, Mightstone, Meekstone, also a great one. Can let you draw 2 cards or kill a Mayhem Devil.
Yeah, certainly a nice one. Has been. You can fill up the hand. As you say, you can kill a Mayhem Devil. It also makes 2 Power Stone mana. So if you wanted to activate some abilities later on, maybe that Lair of the Hydra can certainly make mana for that as well. Meanwhile, David has the follow-up with Fable of the Mirror Breaker. That's going to be making the Goblin 2 foods available. No cat just yet, but these double ovens certainly can be a problem, and be able to see more cards next turn for David. Surely looking for something like a Mayhem Devil to get the ball rolling here.
Yes, absolutely. But one of the things that David is looking to do is to find some way to answer this Karn, because a lot of these things, the Cat Oven, the Mayhem Devil, with all these tokens, none of that is any use with this Karn in play. And even the Goblin Shaman, normally really really powerful because it accelerates your mana, doesn't do that in the face of an opposing Karn. And we're going to see it's possible. Travis could decide to even uptick the Karn just to protect it more from David being able to kill it.
Having a look at David's deck list, there's not a lot that's kind of able to take out a Khan directly, right? But you can ping it down with Mayhem Devils. You can certainly attack it, but there's not really some kind of Planeswalker removal effect that's going to be very powerful here. And we're going to see Khan tick down, find Filigree Silex, Mightstone or Weakstone the play, and that's going to be able to make mana for the Silex, which can kill the token and protect the Khan, Alex.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. Also managing to clean up all these other tokens along the way, and yeah, as you said, there's no direct damage or removal spell for the Karn. David is planning to use Mayhem Devil to kill things, which it's hard when all your ways of sacrifice things are turned off, and then also just attacking with creatures or claiming the firstborn to get more creatures to kill off planeswalkers. But
there go all the tokens. Filigree Silex is going to be popped before the attack step, not letting David make it another treasure or get in with that goblin. And we saw some fatal pushes go to the bin. Here comes Blood Tithe Harvester. That is a threat. That could potentially do some attacking in the direction of Car next turn. And it's Gigantha time once again. Put in the hand there for David.
So far, Gigantha time has not been good time for our Rakdos Sacrifice players. But we'll see. It all depends on what Travis manages to draw. If he's got some big things, it's going to be really hard for David. But you know, this because if he doesn't have enough ways to defend this Karn here, but it looks like he
Oh, it's
has.
something big. It's
Ooh.
Cityscape Leveler, the one of, I believe, in the main, and that is going to have a cast trigger that takes out the Fable. So that's a ton of mana there made from all of the ramp that has happened, plus all the Mightstone. Cityscape Leveler, now the biggest thing on the battlefield, it's an 8/8, and the Khan gets a tick up and turn one of that blood token into a creature which dies immediately, to being a 0/0.
Yeah, and this Power Stone can't even be used by David because of the Karn. So
there is a Den of the Bugbear, though.
is that a den or an eye?
I think it's a Den. I think it's red, which I believe makes it a den. That like lovely D&D, like retro D&D
Yes,
edition.
based on this token, it's definitely a den.
Yeah, and the Cityscape Lever is going to eat the den, but I believe Khan is going down, and David has access finally to those ovens once again.
And he breathes a slight sigh of relief, but this leveler is going to start making work of David's board.
It's pretty big. I don't know. I mean, this card, we don't see it happen very often, but when it does, starts taking down the ovens, and it has tramples. It can't really be chump blocked very easily. And of course, the oven that is being targeted is activating here.
All right, and then what's the follow up from Travis? Looks like okay, just this is basically the best case scenario for David, just making some wolves.
Yeah, 2 wolves being made.
David wishes that he had a Mayhem Devil in play because those are sacrifices, so he would get
right.
But this leveler would be able to kill off the Mayhem Devil, so probably not too good. And David again looking.
Is there anything David can do? I mean, this leveler is huge. There's not a lot of spot removal in the deck. Maybe something like a Furnace Rains.
Yeah, another Furnace Rains would deal with it. Then of course Travis could get to bring it back on the backside,
right?
Which is
oh my god, it has Unearth.
Scary.
Well.
Yeah, David would be able to sacrifice a couple of some food, but probably would still die just through these through the triggered ability and through these 2 wolves. So
okay, Blood Tithe Harvest is going to add to the battlefield a little bit. Power Stone can make mana to crack the blood. Desperation time now for David Rood. 8-2 in the Swiss at face-to-face Edmonton, looking to make it 9-2. The deciding game here, Travis Benedict on Mono Green Devotion, circling with the dominant position. David desperately thinking, head in hand, is there anything in the deck? Is there a line here to avoid just being taken out by that big Cityscape leveler?
And I mean, I don't know. It really, based off of the body language here, looks like he's found something.
It's Mayhem Devil.
But is that enough?
Okay, there's a food and there's 2 creatures and there's 2 ovens. Talk us through this, Alex.
So, I mean, each of the ovens can provide 1 sacrifice, which 1 trigger from the devil, and that could take out one of the tokens with 2 triggers. But
Storm the Festival for Travis, and David has to think, if in response now, if there's a Khan coming, that those ovens are going to be shut off again. Allows it.
I think David has to hope that nothing good comes from this, because he's barely staying alive as is. So
right,
because right now presumably he's got to imagine that Travis is.
Oh my god, that Sky Sovereign from the deck for Travis Benedict finds it off Storm the Festival, and that Sky Sovereign has the trigger as it enters the battlefield. That's going to target Mayhem Devil. So if David wants to do anything or ping anything down has to do it now, but this is looking dire for David Rood and Ragdoll Sacrifice.
Yeah, he's going to he's really just dead on this attack once again. If Travis just attacks with all three creatures, uh, the levelers will trample over.
Right. Here it comes. Leveler has an attack trigger as well. That's going to target a blocker, the Blood type Harvester, just to make double extra sure. But that's going to do it. Travis Benedict, reverse sweep completed.
Wow.
And Mono Green Devotion is going to carry him through to a 9-2 record here at Face to Face Edmonton. Great stuff from Mono Green. And,
Incredible.
we really got to see the power of that deck.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Travis Malta 5 had a Thoughtseize cast on him, and then still just kept haymaker after haymaker. Right? We got to see in the previous game how just again hand shredded, boom, big whammy after big whammy, and here the Cityscape leveler really just that was incredible. Yeah, getting to see the power of the one main deck copy. It's possible he brought in another, but it's
Yeah, I
really
mean, it really just demolished the battlefield,
yeah.
for David, and of course his hopes of winning that round. So we've seen 3 Rakdos decks, we've seen 3 Rakdos losses so far
Yeah.
here in 3 rounds.
The curse of the feature match, I guess. This is
Yeah,
not
apparently so. All right, my friends, we're going to go away for a break. And to kind of explain what's going on, we're going to come back. It's going to be round number 12 coming up, 2 more rounds of Swiss to go. And we will see you all on the other side. Hopefully, in a relatively short break, we're going to try and catch up to the action and show you some more magic here in just a moment. See you soon.
Face